November 4th, 2024 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. We need approval of the consent agenda, and it includes the following. A, approval of City Council meeting minutes of October 21st, 2024. Approval of Resolution 2467, a resolution approving the final obligations and expenditures of SLFRF funds for the City of Clear Lake. C, approval of an economic development agreement for Emerald Cove Housing Development. D, approval of professional service proposal for urban renewal plan amendment from the Planscape Partners in the amount of $3,000. We need approval of the bills and claims, of which you also have a copy. Following license and permits, street closing request, the Clear Lake Chamber of Commerce by the Lake event on Saturday, December 7th. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Creighton, that we approve the consent agenda. And we will have, is there any discussion? Okay, roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
And Dana?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0, and Resolution 2467 is duly approved along with the rest of the consent agenda. Now is the time and place for any citizen in the audience who wishes to address the council on any issue or concern that is not on the agenda. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so that the clerk can properly enter it in the minutes. This is not a discussion time, nor a question and answer time, and you have 3 to 5 minutes, and no action will take place on the citizens' opportunity at any meeting. That's by code. For anyone in the audience who wishes to speak, please approach the podium. Welcome, Michael.
Greetings. I don't know if I need this, but anyway, I have two things I would like the council to consider. One of these I'll be real brief on. I live on North Shore, 215 North Shore Drive, in case you haven't been by there lately, Jennifer. Lots of traffic, even on the sidewalks, and many of those folks in the summer are senior citizens. Including myself. But this summer we had an influx of electric-powered things on that sidewalk. So there'd be a 10-year-old kid coming down the sidewalk on an adult-sized electric bike, and I know those can go 25 to 30 miles an hour, and that's about how fast this kid was riding it on the sidewalk. And I've seen him ride them on Lakeview. Now, I don't know if we have an ordinance that has anything to do with electric bikes and scooters that are powered electrically and wheels that are powered electrically. You name it, they've got it with electric power now. But I really don't think they should be on the sidewalk. So I wish you'd take a look at the ordinance and at least get some information out there before the season next year, and maybe we can keep this situation from reoccurring. So that's one. Now, moving on to the other thing. Seawall traffic congestion, one of my favorite pet peeves as a councilman, and I think over the course of the last 4 years, I brought it to someone's attention many times, and nothing happened with it, and ultimately it ended up as a part of the big study, the 189-page comprehensive plan. So I dug into that thing, and lo and behold, there was their suggestion on page 89. And basically, what they were calling for is counterclockwise one-way traffic around the park, with the possibility of two-way traffic up on North 3rd on the east end of the park. And they thought that this should be put into effect sometime within the next 3 years. Well, I'm here hoping that something will be done down there much quicker than 3 years, because it's a hot mess. I've been riding my bike down there for many years, and it's just wall-to-wall, big vehicles parked diagonally across from one another. And in the summer, trying to make your way through there is a big problem. They're full up parked everywhere. Now, having said that, I'm not a big opponent or proponent of one-way traffic down there, because I happened to be on the council in 2008 when somebody suggested we turn South Shore between the beach outlet and 12th Avenue South into a one-way street. How'd that go over, Scott?
Yeah, that was a rough.
Yeah, it was a big nightmare. And I'm afraid trying to make one-way traffic around the park would have about the same result in terms of how it would go over with the citizenry. And I can see some big problems with people that enjoy driving by on either side of, they want to see the lake coming from South Shore to get to North Shore. And if it was one way going the other way, a cyclist would have to make a park lap to get from South Shore to North Shore, which could be done, but once more potential for problems. All right. Now, having said all of that, I do have a Mike Callanan possibility of a solution. And I brought this up before, and apparently many don't think it's a good idea. But I think we could put parallel parking on the Lakeview side of the area between the Lakeview Room and the seawall. Parallel parking. Now, that isn't such a bad idea, because if you go around the park, all the way around the park, we've got parallel parking on one side of the street and diagonal parking on the other. And I just went down there today and looked it over. There are 16 parking places on that east side of the street. And I think if you change those diagonals to parallel, you would end up with 10 parking spaces, a net loss of 6 if my math is still correct, which isn't a big deal, especially when you consider how many times during the summer we have no parking in that area because of some sort of an event. But it would make things so much easier to continue to have two-way traffic and to also alleviate some of the congestion that is happening with two giant pickups sticking out across from one another, and even the backing out problem. So thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak to the council this evening? Welcome.
My name is Shelley Wander, and I'm a resident here in Clear Lake at 18 South 19th Street. And I'm here tonight to address the safety concerns at the intersection of 27th Avenue and 8th Street and Grouse Avenue. I know the intersection has been an ongoing concern for many years, and I do realize and acknowledge small changes that have been made since my daughter passed away in January after her accident in February of 2020. It's my understanding that they have implemented the flashing red lights, and they've on the eastbound and westbound, and they have changed some speed limits on like 27th Avenue in front of Apple Valley. And I was just informed that they did cut down some shrubbery and stuff to help with visibility. And I want to thank you for that. I don't believe that the changes have been effective in securing the safety of the intersection, because there's continues to be casualties. And the most recent accidents was just last week, as well as in August of 24. Since Brandy's accident in 2020 at the Iowa crash analysis, they had reported 6 other collisions of personal injuries in that vicinity. With that being said, and many of my Clear Lake residents believe this also, that drastic changes need to be implemented to secure the safety of the area. And it's been reported to me that this corridor is scary. It's a scary intersection. I believe that more improvements should be considered, and put into action and implemented for the safety of our community and our guests. Traffic has increased at this intersection and will continue to increase due to the continued and ongoing development in the area. And we believe that the changes at this corner should be a top priority and safety should be established before another tragedy happens. And God forbid we have another tragedy like Brandy's. Driving north and southbound, the speed limit currently is at 55 mile an hour if I'm not correct. And I'm asking for consideration of the following: slowing that speed limit down to 35. Coming from Thornton, the northbound traffic should be slowed to 45 and a mile prior to 27th Avenue. Bring it down to 35 and put stop signs and make it a four-way stop. Because it's two ways now. Considering that that intersection's always been a two-way stop and 55 mile an hour, to install some yellow signs to warn drivers that a stop sign is coming up, because people in the local area, they're used to just flying through there. Rumble strips is a possibility as well at all four corners. I believe they do have them on both corners. Don't quote me because I don't go out there anymore. And then for the safety of others, it was reported that an improvement of lighting in that corner would be nice as well. And then having the flashing stop signs on all four stops. So considering the location of this intersection, I would imagine that it's not only a city issue, but it's also a county issue. But I do believe that the city of Clear Lake and the Cerro Gordo County can work together with the Department of Transportation to make improvements to this intersection for safety and protection for not only our residents, but our visitors who love to come to Clear Lake. So on behalf of Brandy and her family, I want to thank you for giving me the time to share.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I did make copies if you wanted the copies or my suggestion. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak to the council this evening? Thank you. Council will take this all under advisement tonight, and you can be sure that we will do a study as we have in the past and relook at that study and move on. All right. Thank you very much. Unfinished business. A, renewal of natural gas and electric utility franchise agreement with Alliant Energy. And we have the second reading of ordinance number 885. So we'll entertain a motion to approve that on the second reading. An ordinance repealing ordinance number 787 and granting to Interstate Power and Light Company its successors and assigns a non-exclusive 15-year franchise to acquire, construct, erect, maintain, and operate an electric system in the city of Clear Lake, Iowa, and to furnish and sell electric energy to the city and its inhabitants, and requiring said company to pay a franchise fee to the city. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve ordinance number 885 on the second of three readings. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Creighton?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And Mark?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0, and ordinance number 885 is approved on the second reading. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 886. This is an ordinance repealing ordinance number 795 and granting to Interstate Power and Light Company, its successors, and assigns a non-exclusive 15-year franchise to acquire, construct, erect, maintain, and operate plant and systems for the distribution of natural gas in the city of Clear Lake, Iowa, and to sell, distribute, and supply gas to said city and its inhabitants, and requiring said company to pay a franchise fee to the city. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Creighton, that we approve ordinance number 886. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Creighton?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Ordinance number 886 is approved on the second reading. Under the agenda, 6, new business, Lake Pin and Play at 514 Buddy Holly Place, project economic development agreement, letter of intent proposal, review of letter of intent. Mr. Flory, City Administrator, welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The yellow sheets in your packet address this item. It's a letter of intent between the city and Lake Pin and Play for that project at 514 Buddy Holly Place. We'll just kind of walk through this with you here. As you know, the owners who are here this evening have purchased the property. They're at 514 Buddy Holly Place, undertaking a certain redevelopment project at that location within, as we refer to it as the surf district. The economic development agreement, letter of intent, would provide certain economic development incentives to offset costs associated with the development itself. The city will be utilizing its authority under Chapter 15A, which is the use of public funds to aid economic development, and Chapter 403, specifically the Urban Renewal Act, to help fund this project. In terms of the definitions below, project, we're referring to the reconstruction of that building located at 514 Buddy Holly Place. It will include improvements such as 6-lane bowling alley, arcade, golf simulators, and food and beverage as well. Project completion period, of course, project is well underway at this point. The letter of intent identifies the completion date as not later than February 1st, 2025, with an anticipated date of completion before the end of the year. The financial obligations of the owners, they've secured conventional bank financing. They've also secured an economic development low-interest loan from the North Iowa Corridors Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund program for the project. They've investing roughly $2.7 million into the overall project. City's letter of intent would identify a forgivable loan that we would make to the owners of the property, so it would be an amount not to exceed $350,000. And we would pay half of that in our fiscal year, so half of that in December of this year, and then half of it in our next fiscal year, so in the month of July next year. Property tax rebate agreement, we would agree to have a property tax rebate to the owners for a period of 7 years, an amount not to exceed 90% of the new valuation that's created. So establish a base valuation of $440,000, and so the rebate would apply to the taxable value above that base valuation. That would start in our fiscal year 2027. We're providing a signage allowance to the owners of the property for interior, exterior signage improvements on a 50-50 match in an amount not to exceed $10,000. And that's about it on the letter of intent. So I'd be happy to answer any questions for that.
Council, any questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Therefore, I entertain a motion to approve a letter of intent with regard to Lake Pin and Play at 514 Buddy Holly Place, the Economic Development Agreement letter of intent. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Creighton, that we approve the letter of intent. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to comment. First of all, I want to thank the owners for being here tonight and for investing money in Clear Lake for this really fantastic project. I mean, I think it's just incredibly exciting to have that building refurbished down there. I think it's going to be a very attractive place. So I know we're all very excited about it, and I want to thank you for that investment. So thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All the same. Motion carries. Thank you. Annual Appropriation Development Agreements, review by Jacob Woodman, Director of Finance Administrative Services. Welcome, Jacob.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So the agreements I'll be going over are on the pink sheets in your packet. These are annual appropriation resolutions that we have to do every single year. We do development agreements similar to the letter of intent that you just approved. There'll be a development agreement that comes along with that later on. But then each year for agreements like that, we rebate back a portion of the property taxes for the new taxable growth that the projects provide. And that's what these resolutions are for. So it's for taxes that the businesses have paid, and then we're rebating back a portion because they have invested here in the community. So there's 6 of them, and I'll just kind of go through each one of them pretty quickly here to just kind of give you an overview of them. So the first one we have here in your packet is McKesson, and the estimated property tax rebate on that is $600,000. This is for fiscal year 26, so we certify December 1st of every year for property taxes to be collected in the following fiscal year. So this is fiscal year 25-26. That's pretty in line. Their tax growth has continued to go up out there at McKesson. Our fiscal year 25 payments, 583, and so just anticipating a little bit of continued growth there. The next one we have in your packet is the North Iowa Cultural Center. This is down there at the SURF, and then also the museum that they have down there. The estimated on that for fiscal year 26 is $15,000. That one, the final year is 26. This was an extension of an original agreement back a few years ago, and so 26 is estimated in the agreement is the last year of that agreement. The next one in your packet then is with JSM Investments. We're out there at the Marriott. That's estimated at $170,000. The fiscal year 25 rebate that we're giving on that is $168,000. So great to have them in the community and just giving some growth back for them. And then that one runs through fiscal year 33. And I think that this will be, 26 will be the second year of that agreement. The next one is Momberg, 35,000 on that. And that one runs through fiscal year 30. And once again, this year, 25 is 33,000 that we're paying out on that. The last two then are for Pritchard's, and the estimated on Pritchard's on the first one is for 5,000. Fiscal year 25 here has been the first year that we'll be making a payment to them on that agreement, and then it'll run through fiscal year 31. And then the final one is for Sukups, for the old Serta building that they purchased, and that one's estimated at 5,000 for next year, and that will be the first year of payments on that agreement for them. Any questions on any of those?
Yes, I have one, Jacob. Thank you. If I remember this correctly, part of the reason we do the annual appropriation agreements, and Scott can correct me if I'm wrong here, or you can, but is that so that it doesn't count against our debt limit then?
Correct. So the
Is that-
entire outstanding obligation does not count against our debt limit, and so only just 1 year at a time.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, council, we have several resolutions here, and we'll take each of them separately. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2468, a resolution obligating funds from the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area Tax Fund for the appropriation of payment of annual appropriation tax increment finance obligations which shall become due in the next succeeding fiscal year, and this is for McKesson. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2468. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Dana,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Creighton,
Yes.
and Bennett.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Resolution 2468 is duly adopted. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2469, a resolution obligating funds from the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area Tax Fund for the appropriation of payment of annual appropriation tax increment financed obligations, which shall become due in the next succeeding fiscal year. And this is for the North Iowa Cultural Center and Museum. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Creighton, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2469. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mark,
Yes.
Creighton,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
and Dana.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Resolution 2469 is duly adopted. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2470, a resolution obligating funds from the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area Tax Fund for the appropriation of payment of annual appropriation tax increment finance obligations which shall become due in the next succeeding fiscal year. And this is for JSM Investment LLC or the Marriott Fairfield. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Dana. We approve Resolution 2470. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Creighton,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
and Mark.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. And now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2471, a resolution obligating funds from the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area Tax Fund for the appropriation of payment of annual appropriation increment financed obligations which shall become due in the next succeeding fiscal year. And this is for Momberg Land LLC or the Starboard Square. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Creighton, seconded by Mark. We approve Resolution 2471. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Bennett,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and Creighton.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Resolution 2471 is duly adopted. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2472, a resolution obligating funds from the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area Tax Fund for the appropriation of payment of annual appropriation tax increment financed obligations which shall become due in the next succeeding fiscal year. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Creighton, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2472, and this is for Pritchard Companies. Is there any discussion? Dana,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Creighton,
Yes.
and Bennett.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Now I entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2473, a resolution obligating funds from the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area Tax Fund for the appropriation of payment of annual appropriation tax increment finance obligations which shall become due in the next succeeding fiscal year. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2473. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Where am I with that? Dana,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Creighton,
Yes.
and Bennett.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0, and Resolution 2473 is duly adopted. Now we'll jump to 6C, Destination Iowa Surf District Streetscape Improvement Project. Review of pay estimate number 4, project update by Matt Stedding, City Engineer. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Turn to your green sheets here. We'll get going on payout number 4 for the streetscape project. Please note that original contract amount to Dean Snyder Construction for $4,284,533.24. We had some approved changes in the form of a deduct, which brings that revised contract amount to $3,517,572.45. We'll have this period completed, stored to date, minus our standard 5% retainage, is $2,380,639.17. we'll take out our previous request for payments in the amount of $1,834,391.86. Brings us to our current amount due this period of $546,247.31. Leaves that remaining contract to bill in the amount of $1,136,933.28. Project down at the streetscape is going along well. We're continuing up Buddy Holly. Right now we're going between 8th and Wesley Drive. We're finishing up that roadway portion in there. We're gonna be going back towards the end of this week and starting on some of the sidewalk portions to button those up in the ADA cross sections at 7th and Buddy Holly. And then last week, Wapsie Pines was on site. They pulled out and redid the crosswalk on the east side of North Shore and Buddy Holly. They're gonna be back next week to pull out the west side and get that one lifted and redone before winter. And we will continue to press upwards to get up to Wesley Drive and make that connection before the end of this year and try to get all the sidewalks buttoned up. And then there'll be a few miscellaneous things that need to get buttoned up next spring, but I feel like we're gonna keep creeping as long as the weather stays good, so that's where we're at right now. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
The bricks that are laid at 7th and Buddy Holly are level with the world?
Or yes,
They're okay, all right,
I gotta have a conversation on a couple of them.
yeah. Pillars?
Pillars are going up, so they're working on the gateway pillars right now, getting those brought up, and then hopefully sometime this winter, we can still get that gateway structure set up there, so, yep, we're still moving forward on that.
Any other questions, council? Therefore, I'll entertain a motion to approve pay estimate number 4 to Dean Snyder Construction with regard to the Iowa Surf District Streetscape Improvement Project in the amount of $546,247.31. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Creighton, that we approve pay estimate number 4. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. To D, fiscal year 24 road use tax financial report review, Jacob Woodman. Welcome again, Jacob.
Okay, Mayor and Council, I gotta throw a bunch of numbers at you tonight, so just continuing on with that, we're gonna go over the road use report. That's found in the white sheets in your packet. We'll start off with the memo there a little bit, and then we'll dive through the report real quick. So for fiscal year 24, Clear Lake received $1,085,809 in road use tax funds. That was a slight increase from fiscal year 23 when we received $1,057,000 and some change. But it usually stays pretty consistent there, just over $1 million. We had, in the road use fund, we had expenditures of $1.2 million. In the general fund, and in the road use fund, we had expenditures of $927,000. Going to the report then, kind of just go over it on a high level. So starting with page number 1 there, you'll kind of see there's different columns for the expenses. And so on the far left-hand side is the general fund expenses related to streets. And then you have the road use funds, other special revenue funds, and so on and so forth. And this is just for road expenditures. So the one expenditure I did want to point out there, under the road use column, under street preservation, there's $630,895. That was for asphalt overlays that were in the fiscal year 24 expenses. That was part of about a $1.1 million overlay projects that we did for a good amount of streets here in town. And so those hit the report this year. And that was the biggest expense that we had in the road use funds for fiscal year 24. Continuing on then, page number 2. This one, just two amounts that I kind of wanted to point out on this. Street lighting, or grand total between the general fund and the road use fund, was $115,000. Most of that is utilities for our street lights. It's pretty expensive to put street lights on every year. And that was a slight increase from last year, but not significantly higher than it was the year before. Fiscal year '24, snow removal expenses, those totaled $58,784. If you add those, there's 3 lines there you have to add together to get that. That was a decrease from fiscal year '23. If you remember last year, we had a really mild winter. And so in fiscal year '23, we actually spent $100,929, so it was almost in half. And a lot of that was wages because you guys just didn't have to be out plowing, which is a good thing. So we'll see what this winter brings. I mean, you have ups and downs. You have winters where you don't spend as much on it, and then the next winter you have a really bad winter. So it'll be interesting to see where that comes in next year. On the third page, that just kind of goes over the revenues. So under the general fund, most of the revenues are property taxes that we levy to help pay for that. But we also have some assessment income that comes in, and then we had a small transfer from the road use fund to the general fund to cover some of those expenses. There was a $99,000, I have it listed as an Iowa DOT grant there. That was some money that came in for a railroad project we had over on Buddy Holly. It was just kind of lagging and kind of came in fiscal year '24. So that's what that $99,000 is there. Page 4, we don't have any bonds or loans outstanding against the streets. Page 5 and 6 is just an equipment listing. Page 7 is for capitalizing projects. So we did have one big project that we wrapped up in fiscal year '24 for expenses, and that was the East Main Avenue project. And so those expenses are shown on that page there. So then the final page just kind of gives a quick summary of everything. So our ending balance in the road use fund is $2,896,940. That is an increase of $257,000 from the previous year. So just a continued strong balance in there. Just, things look pretty good in the fund this year. Any questions?
So Jacob, on the front page there, very first page,
Yep.
says report shows that just over 2.38 million.
Correct. So that would be
But-
the total expenditures from all the funds. So from the general fund, the road use fund, that's the total street expenditures that we had in fiscal year
Okay.
2024.
Council, any questions, Jacob? Thank you very much. Therefore, I entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2474, a resolution approving the fiscal year '24 road use tax report. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Creighton, that we approve Resolution 2474. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Chief Colby, welcome.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Just a couple things for you. Starting this morning, we started an evidence audit of our evidence room. So somebody directed Captain Hines, our evidence custodian, to do. So this week we'll be going through the entire evidence room to do a full evidence audit just of our everything, the property that we're holding there. It's something that's been on my horizon to get done, so we're gonna get that done this week. Might take into the next week too, but something we need to get done. So we started that progress today. Next week, we start our final range cycle for the officers for training for this year, so that'll give us all of our firearms training completed. So we go out to the range a minimum of 4 times a year, and this will be our 4th cycle too. And then the last thing is not next week, the following week, I will have an initial meeting with the Iowa Chiefs of Police Association accreditation manager too. So we're moving forward with the department becoming one of the first accredited agencies in the state by the Iowa Chiefs of Police Association too. So it's some exciting news, something that we've wanted to get done, to have that accreditation for us and to be able to kind of boast that. But it's something, it's accumulation of 8 years, 9 years of hard work, getting the police department, updating our policies, our procedures and everything. So we'll be able to hopefully early 25 to spring of 25, be able to put that stamp on our police department here, being one of the first 60 agencies in the state to be accredited through the Chief of Police Associations too. So some big things on the horizon for us moving forward that we're kicking off here in November too. So that's all I really have for you. Any other updates on staffing? We're full boat. Everybody's trained up. Sole patrol. Our latest patrol vehicle hit the street today, all built up from electronic engineering, and so I think so far everything's looking good for us as we head into holiday season. Any questions I can answer for you guys all? Anything?
No, but congratulations, Professor. You are an instructor at the academy.
Yeah, it was a long week last week, but it was good.
Yeah. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director of Finance Administrative Services report, update Lakeview room rental rates, Destination Iowa reimbursement request update. Welcome back, Jake.
Okay, my last time up here tonight. So we'll start off with the purple sheet in your packet. So as you guys know, we've been doing a renovation down there at the band shell in the Lakeview room. The Lakeview room, the renovations, they hadn't been updated in a long time. It was definitely in need of some updates, and so we went in there, renovated the space, new flooring, new paint, put a new kitchenette area down there. Just made it a lot more functional and just modern for people. Before it felt kind of cold and just dated in there, and so we put some money in there, and then also with redoing the band shell, just really improving that area down there. And as a part of that, we haven't really looked at rates of the Lakeview room for a few years, and so we kind of wanted to review those, where we're at as far as keeping up with costs, and then being able to pay for the renovations that we did down there. So on your sheet there, we have proposed rates that we came up with to kind of help cover some of those increased costs, and then just to be able to maintain it as a beautiful space for people to use going forward. So in your packet there, we used to do, or presently we're doing, where you can rent it for a minimum of 3-hour blocks, and then you can do it so much per hour. In addition to that, we were running into some problems with that though, of getting to where sometimes we'd have 3 rentals a day, and there just really wasn't enough time for people to get in and out between rentals, and we'd end up with issues with that. And so we're kind of looking at going from a 3-hour plus additional hours to just half-day or full-day rentals. That will allow enough time in between rentals for our staff to get in there and make sure that it's properly cleaned, and then also just provide for a consistent schedule for people. So we're proposing that as of January 1st of 25, we do a half-day rental rate of $240, or a full-day rental rate of $480, and then as of January 1st of 26, increase that to $270 for a half-day or $540 for a full day. So we did bring it to the Parks and Rec Board, and they did approve moving forward with these rates. So I just recommend council also approve moving forward with that one. Any questions on that?
Just real quick, Jacob, thank you, first of all, and I do agree that given the amount of time since we raised this rate, it's entirely appropriate, and given the amount of funding we've invested in it. So thank you for the proposal and putting it through Park and Rec's board. I appreciate that. If you could just comment on the nonprofit rate, I see that that's going to be different if, say, a nonprofit wants to rent the room versus a business or something like that, or a private party.
So it currently is different than what the regular rate is. is, I think, right now, the 3-hour rate is $75, and the nonprofit rate is $50. And then the hourly rate, I think for nonprofit is $10 for additional hours. So instead of kind of having that little bit confusing of nonprofit is a little bit lower, but not a set amount lower, the recommendation was to just make it 50% of what the regular rate is. So that way, on the top rate, they're not receiving quite as much of an increase, but then it also makes it consistent too.
Makes sense. Thank you very much.
And Jacob, you were in consultation with our office people.
Yeah, so I spoke with the ladies out front on it, and then Jim Jackson with Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure everybody.
Yeah, everybody's covered, right. Well, thank you. We don't need any motions here, do we? No,
No, okay.
okay.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about briefly was our Destination Iowa grant, so if we're down there at the Surf District. On July 26th, we made our first reimbursement request to them. We did not hear anything for a long time. Finally, on October 18th, they came back with their first round of questions on our reimbursement request. So Scott and Jennifer and I kind of worked through those documents they had requested and got everything back to them this last Friday. And so I know when I was out on their website today, it looked like they had a response target date for them to get back to us again of middle of November. So it'd be nice to kind of get that. They say the first request always takes the longest because they look at all the contracts and all the resolutions and they make sure they have a lot of paperwork. There was a lot of paperwork we had to pull together and get sent to them. So hopefully soon we'll be hearing on that and be able to get some funds.
Maybe you mentioned this, but I assume we have to concur with DNR on these dock specifications?
Matt will talk about that one.
Oh, Matt's got that one, sorry. Thank you.
Yep.
Jeremy? Public Work Director's report.
Mayor, Council, just a few updates on some capital projects that we had budgeted for this year. As you know, we did the upgrades to the intersection on North 8th Street and Highway 18. If you had noticed, there was some flashing red lights going on for a few days. We figured out the bugs there and got that fixed, so everything should be good to go. Unrelated to that intersection, we had some repairs to North 8th Street and 7th Avenue North. We had a local or a contractor run over that stoplight mast around the northwest corner, so we had a few days and a weekend worth of repairs to get that done, but that is all back up and working appropriately there. So the PD was able to stop the guy, so we'll go through the process of reimbursement and getting all that taken care of as well. If you have been by the cemetery, the new fence is installed there. I think it looks really nice. So that is done, and then other than that, obviously we are trying to stay on top of leaves. The rain, while was well needed, makes that a much slower process for us, but that's what it is. So, any questions for me?
Yeah, that fence is fantastic. That really looks good. Really great
The
improvement.
other update was, I believe we'll be moving forward with the budgeted lean-to off the back of the building. It sounds like we should hopefully be getting some momentum to go get that done yet here before winter. So that'll be a great addition to our public works facility for us.
Any questions, council? Thank you.
Oh, I guess the other one was, our new mechanic did start today, so he
Oh.
was able to start earlier than we anticipated. Kevin Hansen, so if you do see him around, he lives in Ventura, but his first day was today, so if you see him around, welcome to see him.
And Rod's happy.
Yep.
Oh, great. That's important. Thank you. And now, city engineer report. South Shore Estate Housing Subdivision Surf District Music Enrichment Immersive Center, Ludwigburg Municipal Band Improvement Project, and now, finally, the Beach Drive Dock Project Plans and Specs.
Thank
You're
you,
on.
Mr. Mayor. South Shore Estates have had several contractors out there recently just buttoning up some of the remaining items that I had on the list. That has since been buttoned up, and I had sent out an email to the developers stating that we are really at a point now where everything has met city standard specifications, in my opinion, and we need a signed letter of completion from the engineer of record, which would be Wayne Schofield. And as soon as we have that, along with the required maintenance bonds, we can move forward to accept those public utilities out there at the South Shore Estates development. So that is currently where we're sitting on that project. Surf District Music Enrichment Center and Immersive. That project is going along very nicely. I always go back to, you drive by and get the visual for yourself to see actually, how things are progressing. So the EFS is pretty well done on the exterior. There's a couple little things that need buttoned up, but besides that, they're inside buttoning up electrical and drywall insulation, and they're getting rolling on a lot of stuff on the interior right now. So that one's going along good. The municipal band shell project, Dean Snyder has, I would say, at least half of the high pressure laminate done underneath the band shell portion, and they recently run out, so we kind of switched gears, and while they're waiting for that next order to come in, we moved into the public restrooms. Those are currently under construction, hoping to have those buttoned up here in the next week, I would say, if things keep progressing like they are. And yeah, other than that, on that project, we have some locking that needs to be upgraded. We moved the trash area and built a new one exterior of the building, so people aren't putting all their trash into the HVAC mechanical room. So that'll be a nice upgrade there, I think. So just getting all those locks coordinated and on the same keying system is kind of a big deal with as many people as we rent that facility out to. So that one is moving along great. Review of Beach Drive dock plans. This is where your head was at, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry. Didn't want to steal your thunder.
No, you're totally fine. So to follow kind of the state's guidelines on some of this, I put together just a very standard performance specification. And that basically, you kind of turn to your yellow sheets, and that kind of goes through an introduction, definition, system overview of the public dock, performance requirements. We kind of look at your basic load capacities on standard docking facilities, 50 PSI on wall walking surfaces. Then we kind of get into the material specifications, some marine grade anodizing on that material, some deck material as far as slip resistant surfaces. Then we kind of go into structural integrity of the system. There's not a lot of literature that is backed by the required specifications that are needed for a lot of things in the marine industry, but ASCE 50, which is American Society of Civil Engineers, they have an actual literature that kind of goes into more depth into your performance specifications. Some of them, I will say, are a little bit overkill, and I'll kind of say this nicely. We're not looking to over-engineer anything here. We're just looking to get kind of these basic performance specifications out in front of our bidders so that everybody is kind of going at apples to apples on this project bidding-wise. And we really, Scott and I have had multiple conversations, and we really look to kind of make this new public dock facility into one of the premier accessible facilities that we have around the lake. So it's going to be fully ADA compliant, every aspect of it. If you turn to the kind of dock exhibit layout sheet, this goes into kind of more detail. Myself, along with Jim Jackson, we've had meetings with the Iowa DNR, went through a lot of this stuff in those meetings. As you'll see here, we're kind of projecting going out 180 feet max, and we're keeping that 40-foot maximum width on the overall structure. And to make this all work in this given area with our 50-foot access that we have to put, it's really critical that we put 45-degree chamfered miters into this dock. That gives just a lot more accessibility to boaters coming in and out of this facility. And we are also adding, you'll kind of see there, it's noted, it's not super clear on the picture, but a safety edge rail that goes into, it's not an absolute requirement by ADA standards, but they look at that as an upgrade and just a standout in accessible docking facilities to go and add that edge band. It's got to be a maximum height of 4 inches and no more than 2 inches wide, and it's just an edge rail that, you know, will help keep wheelchairs, things like that, on the dock itself. And you'll notice there we have that gangway from the land portion to the actual structure at a maximum 12-to-1 slope, which is 8.33%. That will be fully equipped with handrails, 34 to 38 inches off the ground to meet all of those standard guidelines that are required. We got plenty of mooring cleats that we're adding to this, so there will be more than enough capability for all types of vessels to tie up and moor during a show at the surf, or whether they're going to look at, you know, Record Park, any of those areas. So I think this will be a very good addition to this area. And yeah, that's basically the rundown on these performance specifications. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to add to that.
Maybe Matt on the timeline, so we'll issue these specifications and then the receipt of the competitive quotes that we'll get back and then bring it back to the council at the meeting on the 18th.
Correct. So we're looking to get these competitive quotes back no later than the 14th. And then we will, like Scott just said, we'll be bringing this back in front of council in the 18th meeting. And this is set to actually be installed not until the 2026 season. So we have a whole another year until this will actually be installed at that location.
Matt, I got a quick question. It says here a four foot wide minimum. Are we getting it bid out at wider than that by chance?
So it's potentially possible. That's the 4 foot wide's, you know, our basic minimum width, and I would say that's pretty industry standard, especially for a facility like this one that we're installing. But it's possible that they could go 6 foot wide, and that would be at their discretion.
I'm just thinking about all the new sidewalks we put in at 5 foot wide for ADA compliance. You have 2 wheelchairs at the same time, or a wheelchair and somebody walking by. 4 foot's a little tight, especially on the water, I think. Of course, the railings will help. You're not going to fall in, but 5 foot would be better.
Any other questions? Good work, Matt, really. Thank you. Appreciate it. Under Mayor's report, Mr. O'Keefe, you're on first. Clear Lake Fire Department.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm kind of in mourning after that pack of loss yesterday, but I think I can get through.
Glorious win. Look at my tie for inspiration.
Thank you. Calls for October for this year were 158. That's up from last year. And again, anytime we have more calls, that means that somebody else is having a bad day. So it isn't something we like to shoot for, is a record number of calls. But that's what we had. The new ATV, we didn't hardly get it off the trailer before we've been using it. We got the water tank in it, and we got calls out. We don't have the emergency lighting on it yet. We're working on that. We've got it all purchased and ready to go, but just a matter of getting it on there. But we've had to run it out several times. Right now, we're in the process. We're just going to jump in it with 2 guys and drive to the scene. We're not going to trailer it. It runs pretty well, so we can get there. We've used it out by the interstate. We use it north of town, and it's been a really good addition to a grass fire. And hopefully, the rain will even do a better job of us having a little more time to fix that. The Halloween party, the Halloween thing at the fire department really went great. We had a great turnout for that. We've never done it before, and the guys were excited about it. We put up some decorations, which I didn't know what they were going to do, but they added to it. We had a great crowd of people coming down, and lots of people thanking us for that. We were able to get our robot out, get Pluggy out for the first time in a few years, so the kids just love that, see that thing scooting around. We're going to be sending that in. It does not have a PA system on it. It's not working at this point in time, so we are going to get that sent in, see if the company can't fix it for us. We've had that for probably 20 years, and it just now we're gonna get back to operation. Fortunately, Smokey Bear was out there, and I stood in that suit for 2 hours, and I'll never do that again. I don't care what anybody says, some rookie's gonna be doing that next year, it's not gonna be me. About killed me. We had an occasion to use our drone for an outside assist agency, and I have to commend Justin Beckel and Ben Hunt did a tremendous job with that new drone. One guy was on the screen, the other guy was flying it, and Ben was able to put that thing within about 5 feet of the ground and about 10 feet from where we needed to be, and stayed right there the whole time. It just worked great. And the guys were really happy with it, and it certainly helped out the situation we got called to. Other than that, things are going well. The officers feel it's going well. The new trainees are doing a good job. We've made a shift a little bit at some of our personnel EMS. They're doing a great job, and things are going well. So hopefully we'll have a good October, or a good November, I guess. We're having turkey Thursday night at our meal. I didn't invite you, but I've seen some of you people eat turkey. So I don't know. So if you want to go for fresh turkey, Thursday night at our meeting. Any questions?
We have any field fires?
We've had a few. We've had a few. Now, firstly, the weather has got down. The one along the interstate over there, that was caused by a truck going by. I dropped some stuff off. The cart started that grass on fire. It was kind of exciting for a while with the amount of fire going up that bank. But I told the guys it will only burn to the interstate. I mean, after that it'll quit. But we did get that one out. We had one north of town, which we really need the ATV in. It was close to a peat field, and if you want to visit with people from Forest City, he'll tell you exactly what the problem with peat burning. It's still burning up there. I don't know if they'll ever get it out. It's just an absolute nuisance for that. We want to keep it out of that peat field. We did, and we've had some other grass fires with it. It really works. Like we've got the tank in there, and with the lights on, I think it's going to be a pretty good deal. I'm trying to talk Rod into see if I can put that big Q siren off our fire truck in the front bumper of that thing, but there's more power in that than there is a truck, so I don't know if we can make that happen or not. But otherwise, it's going good.
Firefighters,
We're doing good. Yeah,
Doing-
we're doing good. I think we're at like 30 right now. We're doing fine, yeah. Guys are getting some good training. The new guys are getting some training in both on firefighting and EMS work, so it's going good. Yep.
great. Any other questions, council? Thanks, Mike, appreciate it. Chad? Chad Schreck, North Iowa Corridor, welcome.
You bet. Thank you, Mayor, Council, appreciate it. Happy election eve to all those who partake. We have a lot of great things. I'm excited to see you guys move forward in the Lake Penn project. As referenced, the corridor did approve their RLF request for our fund up to $250,000. So we're just working through our documentation and paperwork on that as well. We should be able to disperse that here in the next week or two. On the project side, the Amazon project continues to go well. They're actually going to be doing some hiring events here over the next month over at Mason City. So we'll be working with those guys through that process. They hope to be complete with construction by the end of the year and start operations probably February, March. So you'll be able to get your stuff to your house same day before you know. Also have had a couple of IEDA leads in the last month. One that we submitted 3 weeks ago, and then another one that we actually submitted today. The one that went through today was a food processing company, about 50-acre project. They're looking for about 50 acres. It'd be about 80 jobs, and they're actually in dairy. So it's kind of an interesting one that we're currently working through. And the other one was a biomanufacturing project. That was about a $120 million project. So good, continuing to see good, consistent lead activity from the state as well as from Alliance. So that's been very positive. We also have our quarterly investor forum coming up November 15th. That's at 7:30 over at the Wellness Center. So certainly hope to see you there. We actually will have our new IADA project manager or area manager coming to that meeting. So it'll be a good opportunity to meet her. Her name's Ann McMahon. She actually grew up in Clear Lake as a Clear Lake graduate. I forget her maiden name. I need to find that out. But she hung out with one of the Snyder sisters. So she's well connected in the community. So excited to have her on the team. It's good to have somebody from the local area that's representing us down in Des Moines. So it'd be really nice to have her and get her connected and introduce folks up here. So I think that's all I got for tonight.
Any questions, council? Thanks, appreciate it. I just want, and I know Jennifer Larson, our city clerk, has held a lot of leadership roles in the Rotary, but I'm really impressed how the Rotary Club in particular, and I'm not a Rotarian, I'm a Noon Lions guy, but the great, Scott says my C word, the collaboration that you've used with the Claw, Clear Lake Athletic and Wellness, and some good things happening there, and I'm sure the young people really do appreciate that as well. At least my vision shows some very, very positive things that are connecting. Want to talk how successful our school has been with the fall sports. Came up a little short on that football game the other night. I was about to beat my hands on the radio I was listening to, but you know, they did well coming up against the number one team in that district and just fell a little bit short on that. And all of those sports teams also have a very good connection with our athletic and wellness group. So that which we put up and spent a lot of time and money with, it's being used year-round at all times of the day, I might say as well. Great cross-country season, both men and women. As I said, football, volleyball's coming along, and once again, you get in with our athletic and wellness. McKeon Bang has really been a good person to have in partnership there, city and school. Just want to talk about a real good, I call him kind of Mr. Clear Lake, but Don Haugie's funeral was this morning, this afternoon, and he will be missed in this community. And Bennett, I'd like to have you kind of talk a little bit about Beth Ann, where we are, or where she is with regard to.
Sure, Mayor. Thank you. I'd be happy to provide a little update there. Fortunately, Beth Ann Schumacher, our dear councilwoman here, has been in the hospital. She's at the University of Iowa hospitals currently. She's made it through surgery and recovering and doing well. We're optimistic. So I did get an update from her daughter this afternoon. And so, as you might imagine, recovering from surgery is somewhat painful, and so it will take a little time, but she certainly appreciates hearing from everybody. And so, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We miss her.
Yeah.
Scott, City Administrator.
I'm just going to recognize the folks who had the interest in 27th Avenue South, South 8th Street, Grouse Avenue, and just support what the mayor said, that we'll definitely follow up on those issues and do all we can for you.
Anything else, council? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for attending tonight.